Microphone equilibrium. Microphone equilibrium. Mr. Dream. The waves crashed against the side of the vessel. The only buoyant force capable of withstanding these tormenting seas would be something with a surface area encompassing the entire ocean. And even then, looking out, the peaks formed white-tipped spears that would surely penetrate any such object, dragging it down into the depths below, as if Poseidon himself had thrust his trident through the hull. These thoughts, oddly enough, permeated his mind. As the ship sank, he was entirely calm, though the rage of the seas was showing no mercy, for he knew that when he would finally be engulfed by the waters, he wouldn't drown, for he could breathe in them. "Mr. Dream!" was the phrase that told him it was time to say bon voyage to his salty escapades. As he saw Childs standing above him. Childs was his good friend, had been since elementary, which was what gave him the comfortability to invade his home and cause him to set sail on his dreams. He was Mr. Dream, a nickname given based upon the fact he could remember and often told his dreams in story, which were, for the most part, enjoyable. "Where were you this time?" Childs asked. "Sailing," was his response, though the conversation about it stopped there. If he was to relay in detail every dream, there would be no room for anything else. So, what was once a common experience was now reserved for when it seemed fit. "It's nice out. We're all going boarding, you in?" As he spoke, the rest of the crew faded in. "What's up, man?" they said. "Don't you guys have any sense of personal space?" he retorted. "We're your friends," Childs voiced. "We're the ones who are supposed to invade it." "Let me get dressed then," he said, and they all just stood there. That means get out and let me get dressed. JT, one of the crew, spoke up at this moment saying, "What's stopping you from getting dressed?" "Well, I'm naked. So, unless you all want to see where the sun don't shine, I suggest you get out of my room." Jeb responded in kind. "What kind of weirdo sleeps naked?" "I'm just, trying it out," I said. "Why do we gotta keep talking about it? Just get out and let me get dressed." At that moment, Juice ripped the sheets off of Cal, exposing him laying there in his underwear. "I knew you didn't have the balls to sleep naked," he said. "Yeah, well, when one never knows when you fags are gonna show up, I can't be private enough." Chuckles, laughter, and further derogatory remarks echoed in his room as they filtered out, closing the door behind them. He knew they just wanted to give him a hard time, but any sense of resentment faded as he got dressed, knowing that he had a good group of friends. The crew boarded around town for the majority of the hot summer day, stopping only to raid one of their homes periodically for food and a chance to quench their thirst. The group didn't really have a leader, but was some sort of unspoken democracy, with hardly any conflict. The group itself changed as members of it became more or less active, due mainly to someone finding a girl to spend his time with, which was now on all their minds as the light faded and they made their way to a fire at a girl's house. They all had their contacts and would work towards finding out what was going on and then gauging the response of the group upon sharing the information. Every once in a while, the cliquey nature of life at that time led to a portion being ditched, with the thought that their presence would somehow tarnish their motives with someone. Cal was sometimes on the receiving end of this, but would be lying if he said he had never ditched anyone. As they rode into the driveway of the house the fire was at, wingmen split up, some became lone wolves, Some knew they really had no chance, so their behavior almost became more ridiculous and, in a sense, more comfortable, which sometimes led to something good, but mostly it led to everyone finding themselves in a bad situation. There was a dude with a guitar. He knew his name, but since the painting now is being referred to in a negative light, I will refrain from mentioning it at the time being. There always had to be a guy with a guitar, he guessed. It just made it what it was somehow. And the fact that music was playing didn't allow there to be any awkward silence. People were somehow more conversational with it. There was a girl there that he liked, which when this happened, he would either become extremely douchey or shy. Tonight, it was shy. He hadn't dressed for a party, and they ended up far from his home longboarding. And upon coming into light about the party, if he had voiced that he wanted to go home to change, he would have been made fun of, called a girl who needed to get ready. They probably would have all went with him. They talked trash, but didn't mean it. However, it wouldn't be worth it, and he could either just go home feeling uncomfortable about going, or go and feel uncomfortable while there. He chose to go. He didn't get any, but left with his naive mind believing that he was something desired by the opposite sex, a centralized view of the world he had at the time. That night, he dreamt of travel with his family who traveled often, but this vacation was misty, however warm, isolated, yet company was present, truly dreamy. Someone even spoke French to him during it. This one he had to relay. While on an island, by which the means of him and his family happened upon escaped him, what didn't escape him was what took place on the island. A scene began to unfold where a large masted ship was just offshore, and a painter was painting a large, almost religious-looking image on the largest sail. People from all over were in observance. The mood was one in which dressed-up people drank champagne while discussing extravagant things. He had maneuvered himself into a good position to take a picture of what was going on. And as he was about to snap a photo, a man got in the shot, speaking then to him in French. Not understanding it, but knowing that's what it was, apologized to him, understanding his body language more than words. A thumbs up was universal, so that was his response. He woke up feeling like the entire world was a fairy tale, happy to find himself entering dreamland.